Hey guys, so today I am going to show you how to take apart and reassemble the Dyson UP16 or DC40 cyclone assembly. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is pop this open and pull out the filter. Then from there you can actually slide this off, and I have found that water gets inside of this little area, so I do not submerge this part. So I'll wipe it down instead of actually getting this part soaking wet. Alright, from there we will separate the clear container. And what we're going to do here is just pull these gaskets out,
so that we can clean around all the little crevices.
And you do need to be careful pulling the gasket out around this little catch. I've broken those before. Alright, so from here we're going to take this little gray button off, and so we can just slide the a little flathead in there and pry that out. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this screen off. So if you look closely, it's this seam right here. So that's where we're going to start taking this screen off, and a small flat blade usually helps to start it. And then you're gonna take another one and then just start kind of dragging it through, and then it eventually releases the whole thing, and then you can just slide it off like that. And you can see how nasty that gets under there. So you'll appreciate being able to take this off and clean that. Alright, from there now we're going to separate the cyclone assembly. So there's clips here like this all the way around it. So we're going to just start here with a flat blade and just turn it and do one at a time. Just stick it down in there, and then just kind of, you're going to have to just pry it, just lightly pry it, and it will end up bending here. You can see the because of the screwdriver, it does bend a little bit. There's probably some better tools, honestly, maybe some plastic tools or whatever, maybe that give you some more surface area so that it's not indenting it. But what I've found is that this plastic is pretty pliable. So it's just a matter of taking a little pair of pliers and just kind of reshaping it, and then it looks fine. So anybody that has suggestions on doing that with a different tool, I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. Alright, so now that we have this part out, you can see all the buildup inside of there. I'm going to bang it off real quick. And then there's going to be a little gasket in here, so we're going to pull that out. And so there's a gasket that, and this one it's one piece. Okay? So we'll put that in there. Pay attention to this piece. You don't want to lose this. So this is an important part. When I put it back together, I'll point out to you how you have to install this particular piece. So, but yeah, you want to keep an eye on it. Okay. So now we're going to pry this part up.
Just go around and just pry this piece up.
once you got it off, you can twist it and it'll just slide off the end here. And this is one piece. This is like a gasket material with a white plastic, and it's adhered onto there, so you can just clean that piece as is. All right, now from there you will have 6 screws to take out. Yeah, they're T15s, so you're going to take those screws out. Alright, so now that you have your screws out, you can take the cyclone out, clean that part, and then that's going to separate this section here. And so we're going to give these parts a good cleaning, and then we will walk you through how to put it back together. Okay, so now we've got our parts cleaned, everything cleaned up pretty nicely. Have a little bit of like staining inside of the cyclones, most likely because of the etching of sand, but otherwise everything really cleaned up nicely. So all right, so we're going to start with this lid here, and we're going to get it laid down with this hole facing upward just for orientation. And on this top here, you're going to see a little fin right here sticking up. That is going to locate right inside of here. So that's our locator there. So make sure that that's in the spot, and that's going to sit down in place. If you don't have that lined up correctly, it'll be pretty tricky. And then we're going to set our black seal in place, and if you look on either side, you're going to see indentation on one side. That's the side that's going to be facing up, and this doesn't have a locator because you can pretty much put it on anyway, as long as these sections here are lining up with your screw holes. So this one's fairly easy.
All right.
And one little trick is to install your screws before you set it in place, because once you have it in place, it's a little tricky, especially if you don't have like a magnetic tip screwdriver. So go ahead and set your screws in the holes first before you set it on. Okay, and then this is your area that is going to be going over this, where this hole is. Okay, so, and just lower it down just like that. Okay, and then I'm always going to screw the screws in a star pattern.
Opposites. And then I'm going to hand tighten, just to be sure everything's tight, and just so that I can kind of feel have a feel for how tight the screw is rather than possibly over tightening it.
All right, so now that you got your screws and everything's nice and connected there, we're gonna slide this on. This can go on any way, meaning but the gasket is facing upward. The black side is facing towards you, like this, and just press that down firmly. You can see there's a little bit of a ridge right here for that to rest on. So when you push it down, you can see it just rests right there. So, okay. And then now you're going to get your lower half of the cyclone assembly, and the teardown. I mentioned that this was one piece, but I actually found out that it's two as I was cleaning it. So you can lay this in place.
Seal put in.
Make sure it just overlaps itself so that you're creating a good seal. Now this is probably the trickiest part. This is what I would refer to as a dual tension spring. So it's got this little arm sticking out so that this is loaded both vertically. It's putting tension on it, this way vertically, and then also rotationally. So and that's to keep this lever out and lined up with the other part that it has to line up with, so that it don't become misaligned. Okay, so you see how that is installed here? Now, when you're going to be lining it up, you're going to be guiding it in, but as it's already, you're loading the rotational part of the spring, and you're going to have it insert into here, and then you just have to make sure that your spring doesn't come out on you as you're guiding it in place. And that's a little tricky. You might have to do that a couple times, but basically, in order to verify that you did it right, you push on this, and if it springs out and stays out, then you're good. And obviously you want to make sure that you have tension that keeps this going upwards. So, all right, so now we can go ahead and put our little gray button back on. We got the little spring and the button. The flat side of the button is going to go facing the lower half. And usually you can just pry it in by sticking one side in, and then with some pressure and a little bit of prying, you can pop it in place. Okay, so you've checked all your clips to make sure your clips are nice and tight and clipped in place. Everything's aligned, your spring's there. Then we're going to go ahead and put the lid on here. The order in this case doesn't really matter when you put the lid on, but I'll go ahead and install it. Okay, and then we're going to slide this on here, and this only goes on one way because you can see there's a little notch right here. And just pull that on, and then make sure it pops in. Okay, now you've got to grab your dirt cup, if you did clean this like I do, and you're going to put your gaskets back in. There's a couple steps there. I just use a little bit of this Armor All, and I wipe the gaskets down, and this kind of lubricates them so that when I'm sliding them back in, then they go in really easy. So this one just literally just presses in.
On the outside.
Okay, and then also on the inside, so you just kind of run your thumbs along the inside of there to push it down. And then with this one, it's a little tricky, but what you want to do is you want to start it from one side and get it fed in so that it's under the lip. And then as you pull it through, it sort of self-feeds. And if it's really dry and it doesn't have like any Armor All on it, then it'll be a lot more difficult to pull that through. So that's why that method works really well. All right, and there's that little tab that kind of sticks down inside of there. Okay, and there you go. You've gotten this completely cleaned, factory fresh again, and hopefully deodorized, and you're in good shape. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments, just drop a comment for me or hit the like button if you enjoyed this. And if you feel the urge, I do this for a living, so if this was valuable to you, then I would certainly appreciate anybody who threw me a couple bucks through PayPal as sort of a tip or a thank you. So I appreciate all the views and all the comments, and hope to continue to make some good quality content for people that's helpful. Thanks, guys. Bye.